Look at you. Nobody knew who the hell he was. The majority of the country. I know because I am one of them.
How's that hokey team stuff working out for you?
He's now our president. He's our president.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
Taking back America, one listener at a time. This is the Bella D'Angelo Show.
I think I'm going to Taking Back America. I think I'm going to rephrase my last statement on there. Instead of taking back America one listener at a time, it's taking back America by taking out one more liberal at a time. I don't mean like out.
Yeah, be real careful what you say.
I just mean removing them.
Room.
I just mean removing them from my side of the country. Let's get this straight, okay? Can we take the right side of the country? They take the left side of the country, and we already have a caller joining us. I don't know. Let's see if this is an actual hello. Welcome to the Bella D'Angelo Show. Hello.
Somebody's listening.
I wonder who that is.
I don't know. Somebody just likes to listen. They don't want to participate. They just want to listen.
No, but I mean, literally, let's just let us take the right side of the country. They can take the left side of the country. They can take all of their values, their beliefs, their laws, their constitution, lack of constitution, all of their fat, crazy agendas, you know, with the pinhead and the pen, excuse me. But we'll get to that soon enough. We've got a lot to cover tonight. We're going to go over, so I had this kind of stream of consciousness thinking, if you will. You know, we're going to talk about celebrity worshiping, how it goes into political figure worshiping, and then really Trump derangement syndrome. And when does Trump derangement syndrome cross into what could potentially be to see someone? Do you need to take some medication? I don't know, but we're now whoever is, I think, trying to call into the show is now calling my phone. I might try and take that if it calls one more time. It said no caller ID, which is the same number that they put up on the screen. But anyways, okay, Al, you're here. Christian, I just saw that you called in. Guys, let's get ready, because did anybody know that I literally can speak tongue to aliens?
Oh, God, just when I think I'm safe, I think I know what you're going to say, and then bam.
Christian, want to give a stab at it?
No, he put himself on mute. He ain't touching it either.
Okay, fine. So I'm talking about this celebrity worshiping. So I was telling Christian in show prep, like in my old truck, I could drive around and XM Sirius would show me the picture of the musicians, right? And so I was laughing because, you know, since transgenderism is, you know, it's one of the absolute, that caller's back. Let's try it one more time. Let's see if they're brave enough. Welcome to the Bella D'Angelo Show. How can we help you tonight? Because prank phone calling is only fun when you're funny. Caller, be funny. If you're a prank phone caller, be funny. That'd be great. You'd add to the show. Okay, never mind. Goodbye. Funny caller, be funny. If you're a prank phone caller, be funny. That'd be great. You'd add to the show. Okay, never mind. Goodbye. How do we block prank phone calls?
No, they're not talking, so we'll just.
Policies of the pinhead and this administration. But did you ever, now Al, I know you didn't have these thoughts on pinhead and this administration, but did you ever, now Al, I know you didn't have these thoughts, I did, but have you ever noticed that Peter Frampton and Helen Redding like could beat each other while transitioning? or the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees. Okay, now I had told Wilson one day on a really bad day in the oil field that I was driving around listening to or the Bee Gees. The Bee Gees. Okay, now I had told Wilson one day on a really bad day in the oil field that I was driving around listening to Tragedy by the Bee Gees, and that even stumped Wilson. He was like, "Wait a minute, how bad of a day could you possibly have listening to Tragedy by the Bee Gees?" But don't you think
nobody listens to that on purpose? Oh, Bella. I swear, if I ever get you figured out, I'm going to buy myself a trophy.
See, listen, it doesn't get any better. Can't you see me lip singing to this?
Are you actually going to play Tragedy?
Oops, wait a minute. No, but Bee Gees. Now, were they the original transgenders? I mean, these guys had the big feathery hair, and they were like always proud to be like bare-chested and within very close distance of each other. And then when you listen to that, that's not men singing. Anyone? Hello?
I guess I never thought about the Bee Gees that way.
Check, 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 check.
It was kind of something that was, on in the background when there was roller skating happening. That was it for me.
I think Christian's checking if he's even on the right show. Yeah, you are, Christian. This is the Bella D'Angelo show. We're just analyzing when transgenderism started to really become popular. I think it started with the 70s and 80s glam boys with their big feathery hair and
are
bare
you
naked
Kristen, the Gibbs?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she is.
I think we're gonna have to have a big talk when we get done with the show today.
I think we better get the wheelbarrow out for all the hate mail that's gonna come in.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
This all started.
By the way, I use my walk. What was that again? What were you saying, Bella?
Eventually, we're gonna start making sense when we get into this Trump derangement syndrome. But I had to make you laugh because I drive around with XM satellite, and I was like asking myself, like, these dudes we're so far off from being like dudes like Peter Frampton and I don't know, like I mean all of those guys and like Heat and all of them and then I'm thinking I mean this was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. They couldn't really be getting laid. I mean, if Steven Tyler
they were like crazy.
If Steven Tyler hadn't been given the popularity, the fame of Aerosmith, I mean, Steven Tyler is one of those. I'm not sure that we would adore him the way that we do because, I mean, Steven Tyler, Aerosmith, I'm just saying, or Mick. What about Mick? Take him off the throne, right? I don't think
dance.
I know it's hard for you guys to play this game, but be fun. Try and play with me. Come on.
He has the move like Jagger. That means something.
I'm just giving some observations.
When I dance, I look like I'm having a seizure.
You're braver than me. I just don't do it.
Oh, mine's usually alcohol fueled, so that's what really is going on. If you ever see me dancing, I need a ride home.
Right. I'm with you on that.
Well, there's
another funny story.
One time,
if I may,
what?
one time I was at I forget exactly what it was. I think it was a family party. It may have been my sister's wedding. I'm not sure. My wife and I were dancing, and I got a little carried away. I had been drinking a bit, and I accidentally punched her in the face.
Oh.
Yeah, she She reminds me of that every time we try to go dancing.
I bet that's not your favorite song anymore, whatever it was.
Tragedy is still mine. Yep. No, but what? No, where this was leading to was I was having this, this thought pattern of derangement syndrome, and you kind of follow along that, we've idolized, musicians and actors, and we don't know them personally, from what we pay attention to or listen to within the media, or the Esquire or Inquirer or whatever the hell that stupid rag is. I don't even think I see it on the newsstand anymore. But then you transition into the idolization of political figures, right? And how the media either protects them or demonizes them, right? So we had somebody like Bill Clinton that, I mean, how many women did he actually rape? Juanita Broderick sticks very strong in my mind, because I remember her interview with a very well-known talk radio personality talking about how she was punched afterwards and threatened and terrorized by Hillary. And, you now transition into, I was listening to a program on Saturday, and it made a lot of sense to me, because this Trump derangement syndrome really has moved into another level, and it affected me personally over the weekend, which I'm going to explain here in a second. But this person I was listening to on Saturday, he was explaining that the media, even including Fox, the printed media, the magazine media world, never putting Melania Trump on the front of any of the magazines, probably one of the most eloquent, beautiful first ladies we've had. And all they did was, for 4 years, demonize, criminalize, drill it into the minds, orange bad man, self-centered, sociopath, egotistical, destroyer, destructor, rapist. I don't know. All I know is that the litany that the media, the news, the printed media, it got into the brains of those that could not think necessarily for themselves. Christian kind of hopping back and forth. I think he's trying to decide, it's like he can handle it so much, and he's like, I
Blog Talk. For instance, if any of you try to call into the show and you have a VPN running, you need to shut it off. Otherwise, as soon as the VPN turns back on or starts or does anything, you cannot use Blog Talk. So for all you listeners out there, you have to shut your VPN off before you try to call in.
Is VPN code for something very personal that I might own?
Yes. It stands for Virtual Private Network. Those of us who use technology and want to protect our data, we choose a VPN so we can be all alone with our data.
Okay, I'm going to leave that one right there. Okay.
So good.
No, but so I'm listening to this, and it made sense, because I think, Christian, you were one that said to me that you had some very strong conservative friends that actually admitted that they voted Trump the first time, but then they pulled the Biden cord the second in 2020, right?
I have had a few friends say that they went all in 16, and in 20 they didn't, because they weren't able to stand behind the total package again. And I guess I understand. We all have to have the courage of our convictions and follow through with what we think is right and important. They changed their minds.
Well, you can hate the bad man all you want, the bad orange man, but when you look at what this administration is actually doing, which is, why aren't the left celebrating? So I will try and wrap this up, because we have got Sandi Bostick joining us here in a second. We're going to talk oil and gas industry, immigration, and everything else that might be exciting for Sandi to share with us tonight. He's a great guy calling in from Texas. So, you've been listening for a while. You probably already know all of my relatives on both sides, diehard progressive liberals. particularly on the one side, very, very progressive liberal, the pink hat wearers that scream through their VPN in Washington. And so I haven't talked to these people in, I haven't actually been around this one individual since I was probably 10 or something. She was at my wedding, didn't talk to her very much. And then I didn't see her until probably a year before I got divorced. The reason I share all this is she makes reference to the fact that she doesn't recognize who I am today. So without going into a huge amount of personal information, there was a reason I got divorced, not because I didn't like his shoes, okay? I simply needed to save myself, and I was a miserable, broken down, anxious, didn't even look like myself, not even politically involved. So that's the picture that they hold in their heads. And Sandy, I got you in queue. I'm going to pick you up in a second here. So they hold that vision in their heads. And I don't know if you know many women that have gotten divorced and were brutally angry, particularly divorced women, never let it go and never stop talking about it. I obviously am not one of them. So anyways, zip forward, and now 2020, 2021, and I am me, an extreme extrovert. I feel a little confident some days, I think. I've got a few political views. And anyway, so this Trump derangement syndrome, which I've tried to integrate back in with my family, it was one thing that they had their views about, they didn't agree with the reasons that I got divorced. Who cares about that crap anyways? But now all of a sudden they've dragged the Trump derangement syndrome. And this is just a progression of anger. And then I get this message. Christian, I was talking to you. And so, Sandy, hang on a second. I'm going to bring you on. Actually, I'll bring you on if you want to join in on this conversation. We're talking about how
I'm just enjoying it. Go ahead.
we're transitioning into how does Trump derangement syndrome actually go into some type of mental disorder. So she goes on, 90% of this message that I got through Messenger is all about how I'm not taking COVID seriously. And I'm admonishing people for wearing masks. And then she says, your light stance on COVID is a threat to lives. You have the power to read or watch something outside of your echo chamber, but maybe the mega cult is too strong. Where the hell do you think she got mega cult from?
Saying on TV, it's
no,
still going on every day.
Right, and then she recommends that I listen to CNN and the Minneapolis Star Tribune. She can't believe the way I speak of guns. Oh my God, I want the right to bear arms. Democrats are Nancy Pelosi. Then she goes on to say there could be some common ground or decency or balanced news sources, facts, not alternatives. So if this was Germany in 1930s, you are supporting the Nazi party with full knowledge of their agenda to exterminate the intellectuals, the homosexuals, the Jews, the Jewish sympathizers. I am clearly not a Nazi supporter, and so you, dear cousin, in your words, support my death, the lives of innocent people for a false profit. That perfectly summarizes me, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Then she goes on. Then she goes on to say, "This man." Hang on one second.
I'm thinking maybe the mega came from Mega Millions from the lotto. That was they grasped that word right there. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Before I forgot that thought, I had to get it out of my head. Sorry.
So then she goes on, she says, this man is not a good man. Listen to his speeches. They are not about the American people. No, not at all. The one and only president we have finally had that actually fought for the American people. Yeah, and here is this prank caller again. Anyways, they are about him, his wants. You cheered an abhorrent, I didn't know this. Write this down, guys, because we did not know this. This is news breaking. We cheered an abhorrent, deadly insurrection.
And I'm just fixing it. And this is what people are being hammered with.
Yeah, I've been reading that, and of course, what I was focused on was his immigration executive orders, which the thing is, and we talked about too.
And I'm just fixing it.
Executive orders,
and this is what people are being hammered with.
I don't want to go into a history lesson on executive orders, but the thing about executive orders, they're only supposed to be used in the event of a national crisis. Okay, we're not in a national crisis because we're in a situation now where for the first time in years, well, at least until like the last couple of weeks, still the borders were relatively secure after all these years. And I worked on the southwest border as a Homeland Security Special Agent and Customs Special Agent for about 15 years. And I can tell you the security we have on the border now is nothing compared to what we had back when, my office, when I first went to work down in Del Rio, Texas, we had 7 U.S. Customs Special Agents. So all we did was work narcotics and currency, money laundering. And when I left, several years later when I left, we were up to about almost 30 agents in the office. And so, but even at that, I mean, the Border Patrol had pretty much tripled its size, but even at that, I mean, we were still really inadequately supplied with manpower and with equipment to secure the border. And so when Trump came in, in 2016, I was actually in Colorado. I was the agent in charge for Homeland Security of the Grand Junction, Colorado. And when I moved to El Paso my last 2 years, I was amazed when I got down to El Paso at how much things had changed in the 12 to 15 years I'd been off the border. And so to talk about the Trump derangement syndrome, how does it all tie in? I mean, people, and this is just kind of my take on a lot of things. It's just that what the swamp, and I've had a lot of experience with the swamp. My total time in law enforcement was about 26, 27 years, and government service about 30. And but the swamp is real. People ask me all the time. They say, "Is the swamp really a real thing?" And it is. And when you look at what's been going on in Washington, you look at who's protecting who. You don't have the Democrats protecting Democrats. You don't have the rhinos protecting Republicans. You're protecting the swamp, and that's what's going on here. And when you get into a situation when you have someone like President Trump who was so successful in such a short period of time, it's just like a little kid. I mean, the jealousy factor is so high that they just want to explode. Am I off track, guys, or what do y'all think?
No, I think you're right. You're right in there.
You're absolutely right. And it's not only the jealousy, it's the fear. I mean, Trump came in. Now let's remember something. And I've said this for a long time. Both the left and the right, they were all in on this together. They've been one big fat happy country club for years and years and years. And it is exactly why we gave up on politics, politicians, voting, anything. And when Obama was in office, I used to say, I wonder how long it's going to take for everything that he's done, things that we don't even know that he has done to destroy this country, the true destructor of America, right? So when Donald Trump comes down that escalator and everybody is just aghast and laughing and not taking him serious, and yet we, the people, start listening to somebody that's finally talking to us, not at us, over us. He talks like somebody that we're sitting at the bar having a beer after a hard day work out on the construction site. When you remember that golden moment when he was debating Hillary and talking about the justice system, and he said, well, if I was in charge, and she said, well, you'll never be in charge or something, and he said, well, he would lock her up. She said
it's a good thing you're not in charge.
Yeah, and then he said I'd lock you up.
I'd lock you up.
You know what? That was a golden moment that people in America watching that debate, they sat back and they said, God bless you. I love you. I wish and have prayed someone would say that out loud. And when he started attacking and saying things that no one has ever said, no one had the guts to, because they didn't want to expose each other. So the reason that they have been fighting and battling since before he even got into office, and now they're doing everything that they can to fight and battle to make sure he doesn't come back in 2024. And I'm afraid these little butt-sore liberals, he's actually demonized them to the point that I guess they can't celebrate their president because they're just too terrified the bad orange man's going to come back in 2024. But I don't know, Sandy, at the rate these guys are coming with all of their far left progressive agenda and executive orders, you know, when you talk about immigration was the one thing, you know, if we don't have a border, we don't have a country. We are already at a disadvantage. We are already at a disadvantage in voting to begin with. Statistically, we don't have enough. That's why the Trump phenomenon was so huge. Now we don't even have integrity in the voting system. So at what point, I mean, is there going to be any pushback from within the DHS, or what? I mean, where do you see internally, or is this just going to be an out of control 4 years with Biden?
Well, listen, to answer your question, and there's a lot of that goes into answering that. But let me I'll try to simplify it, because if you look at the first executive order that I don't call him President Biden, because he wasn't elected president. He's just sitting in the Oval Office signing executive orders, and we all know that he did not get as many votes as the press said he did. And we all know that Donald Trump actually won that election. So I don't acknowledge him as the president. I just call him Joe Biden. But his first executive order is to create a task force that is going to go in to these detention centers and within the immigration policy courts and look at everything. And they're going to reunite, families together. In other words, the children that he claims were literally ripped from their parents' arms and put into detention over here, and parents go over here. I can tell you right away. I think 5 years of my career when I was back working domestically, it was spent in internal affairs with Department of Homeland Security investigations. And one of the main things that we investigated, one of the main topics our main allegations we would investigate were crimes committed within detention centers, and sexual abuse, assault, and anything that had to do that was of a criminal nature. We would get called in. My agents would. I was a supervisor at the time, and they would get called in to investigate these allegations. And but here's the reality of the situation. And I noticed I've been in these detention centers time and time again as an investigator and as a supervisor, reading over these cases reports. We have, even back during the Obama era, up through Trump, even more so, families have never been separated. Real families, real families that can be proven that they're real families have never been separated. They have, in Pearsall, Texas, they have a facility that's all it's there for are families. It's set up, they have playgrounds, they have churches, it's like a little town. And so this is no more fake bull that's coming out of the left. All they're trying to do is inflame the left and the Democrats in this country, say, we can't believe this is going on, And so it's not going on, It's not going on. It's a bunch of bull. So what they're trying to do is inflame the public again to hate DHS, Homeland Security, ICE, defund those guys. They're not with the crap. When you do have a situation where a child has come across, or a minor has come across with an adult who has not been proven to be a family member, a parent, or whatever, they do separate them, because in most of those cases, you have someone being trafficked in either as a human trafficking, as a potential prostitute, as child forced labor. There's all types of stuff that goes on there. So it's very profitable for these people to bring these people across, kids across, and they basically sell them. That's what the human slave market is today. There you do see a division where you don't keep those people together. You don't keep that child with the person who was paid to bring them in. But what I'm trying to get at, what this is very demoralizing to DHS, because DHS is a huge agency, and it's comprised of the Border Patrol, ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, Secret Service, a number of the U.S. Coast Guard. And of course, with these people, they don't join DHS to sit around and just collect a paycheck. The majority of them don't. In every agency, you have the few minorities that don't want to work. They don't want to make cases. They don't want to do their job. But the majority of people come in, you wouldn't go into a job that dangerous unless you really wanted to make a difference. And so to answer your question, Bella, yes, this is going to cause a huge, if it hasn't already, I'm sure it already has, because when Donald Trump was elected in 2016, the agents in my office and under 12 states that I was supervising, they were ecstatic. I mean, they said, finally, We're going to get the money. We're finally going to get through our jobs. We're going to get to do what we're paid to do. So now we're reversing the whole thing, and we're going back to the way it was in 2015, where it's all been turned around again, and now we're going to be fighting. They're going to be fighting the same problem, that they fought back then. And the main issue, what it comes down to, if you really want to shut these guys up, you just cut your budget, and that's what's going to happen. You're going to see a huge cut to Homeland Security's budget. If they don't have the money, they can't buy. They can't put gas in their vehicles. They can't get out there. They can't prosecute cases. They can't travel. And so, and all the other things that go along with what they do. So, to answer your question, this is going to cause a huge problem in national security, because number one, you're going to have underfunded Homeland Security, and you're going to have a morale problem where they will be presenting these cases over and over to the U.S. Attorney's Office, and they're going to be quashed and sent away for lack of evidence or whatever it is, because they will get orders from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the Department of Justice will send orders down to not prosecute these cases.
Yeah,
I
I just want
realizing is that for an agent that busts his ass making a case, and all of a sudden they say kick him loose.
Right.
I just
now,
how do they do that overnight, like flipping a switch?
And it's like I say, it's a the one thing is that the president is he is the boss of the United States government, so he's the boss. So the law is there. And then the policy, the law. I used to always tell my agents, I'd always say, when you investigate a case, you need to make sure that as long as you keep your investigation within the law and within policy, you're not going to have any problems. What the policy does, it starts squeezing down to what they can do as opposed to law, and it makes their job impossible. And I say the main thing is the perfect example was when I had worked a number of years overseas in Russia and Central Asia, and I'd also spent about 3 years at that time, internal affairs. So I was out of mainstream Homeland Security investigations for about 7 or 8 years. And so when I came back, when my tour ended and I moved back, I was in Grand Junction. That was the first actual station I worked at where we did immigration type of enforcement. And we were mostly doing customs work, or not customs, but counter narcotics, national security cases like that. But at the same time, I had agents who had come over from, when they formed Homeland Security in 2013, they put immigration, U.S. Customs, Secret Service, all under DHS. These were the investigative agencies that came out from other agencies under Homeland Security. And so I still had, we call them legacy immigration special agents, who were good at working immigration cases. And they would do the human trafficking, human smuggling, and they were real experts in their field. But when I came back, the Obama administration had, even though the law says you can arrest this person if he or she is illegally in the United States, this is the criteria, these are the elements of the crime, they would meet all the criteria. But at the same time, the policy came down through Maine DHS that they laid out an even stricter guideline as to who you could and who you could not arrest and deport based on, how long they've been here, what's their job. They made it so difficult. You almost had to have an attorney to read the policy on what it was, what you had to do to legally or within policy deport a person. So what
Sandy, hang on 1 second. I want to give an analogy. Here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, so downtown Minneapolis was allowed to burn for 4 days while Governor Walz and Soy Boy Frey back. The answer was to defund the police. The morality within the police department here in Minneapolis is at an all-time low because they know that the state doesn't have their back. So you've got the Department of Homeland Security, that their morality is going to go at the bottom because they have no backing by the government. Now, anybody that's listening that is maybe not aware of what it takes to go to another country. How many of you listening have tried to go outside of the United States without papers and documentation? Do you know that seriously, I did think about moving to Iceland, Selfoss, Iceland, because they actually did do a good job of decriminalizing their government. And if Hillary was going to get in. I seriously was going to move there. But, no, the list of requirements, like even to get a job there, you basically have to find a job that the whole country of Iceland can't fill from within. I mean, when I say this to common sense Democrats or people that are trying to argue with me about immigration, I just ask them, have you looked to see what is required when you want to leave the United States? Go to Canada, go to Mexico, travel to the UK, anywhere. I mean, do you understand? We are the only country that allows just free flow. And then on top of it, 99% or 90% of them are 18 and 20-year-old, not even immigrants. I mean, basically, they're not vetted. So we're going to see these lone wolf terrorist attacks coming again. Whether or not you call this a pandemic or not, you would think the Democrats would be terrified of this open flood of unvetted, non-COVID vaccinated millions crossing the borders.
No, I agree, and the key word you said there is vetted, because if I've spent a lot of my life in third world countries, and there's no way to vet those people. Okay, and I say those people because I've been in these countries where people are savages. So they're real savage. I mean, Americans don't want to hear that, but that's the way the real world is. And I've been in war zones and places, and those are people that don't have the same values that we have. Okay, you know, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is not part of their vocabulary. And it's not so much because they don't want to believe it. That's just not what they grew up in. And so, you know, I've always said, dude, if we allow so many of these third world people to come into our country, they're not going to rise to our level as fast as they're going to pull us down to theirs. And you see that, especially like you talk about, in your city that was under siege for 4 days, and then you see this constant. You know, the majority of all the drug smugglers I put into prison 3 or 4 years, and hardcore violent people, they were from third world countries. Okay, they weren't. Very few people I arrested were actually from the United States. A few. But most of them were, you know, had come into. They were either from Central America, South America, from Africa, different places like that. And so when you flood your country with people with the value system that is not ours, you know, it's going to happen, because
if
they
they're
don't
not used to law and order, if they don't even know what law and order is, like our Somali population here in Minnesota, a lot of them are very good people. A lot of them are thugs. And that's been coming out more and more in the last couple of years, where, you know, these gangs of kids are running around just beating people up for no reason because they came from a country where there was no law.
Right.
Well,
it's so much it is. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Hang on a second. You know, two of the biggest things that destroy a country is distrust of government and inability to assimilate. And those that are saying, well, this is the melting pot. No, the melting pot was, you know, 50 some years ago. Here, there is no assimilation. That's why, particularly here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, we have so many problems. I remember a friend of mine went down to the what they call kind of the mini Somali Riverside area, and was horrified to hear a Somalian individual said this: "You came here by boat, we're coming by plane, and we are taking your country. Get the F over it." I mean, these are not these people that are coming here because they are coming to America for the American exceptionalism and the American dream and the American spirit. This is, and that's what this administration is nothing about what this country has been founded on. And I'm wondering how long it's going to take the masses of those that voted for this administration to finally start to realize what it is that they're actually doing to this country. You know,
it'll be too late by then. It'll be too late by then.
That, you know, I'm not trying to. I do a separate podcast on America's Web Radio, and it's called Agent Charge, and we're not to steal your thunder here, but we're on Wednesdays, so that we talk about a lot of the same things you guys are talking about. And not only, okay, when you talk about the morality behind this influx of illegal aliens that will be coming. I still call them illegal aliens. That's what they are by definition. That's what they are. And but people don't realize how dangerous it is to send. To say you're in El Salvador, or for example, I'll give an example. When I was in Russia, I interviewed two ladies that had been smuggled in, and they actually were deported, and they wanted to come talk to me about the horrific experience they had being smuggled into the United States. And so I won't go through all the details of that, but I'll just put it this way. When they finally arrived in the United States and they were brought in by a Mexican cartel smuggling organization, they were brought about like 3 to 4 miles off the coast of Florida, and they literally threw them off the boat and said, hope you can swim, but there's America right there. And so, and that's not uncommon. Okay, they swam ashore, they survived, but they got caught and they got deported. But when you look at the one thing you don't see is the number of people who die or injured or raped, robbed, trying to get in this country, and that's a true crime unto itself. That this Biden administration would even encourage that to go on, because without order, you create black markets, and that's just the way it is.
Well, they're backpedaling like crazy today. That press secretary was saying, "Hey, just hang on, we're not ready yet. We got to get some things in line before you come here. Just hold on." Well, yeah.
I still hold this belief, guys. You can say they won't realize until it's over. And then we got to switch gears, because I know that we were going to talk about our completely abandoning our energy independence, which, I mean, that right there is just weakening ourselves to the entire world. But I want to say this. When Barack Hussein Obama came into office, so many people were excited for the first black president. They didn't even vet him. He was one of the world's slickest salespeople. And he really did have a majority of people believing that this was a hope and change and a kumbaya. And so many of the policies that he was doing behind closed doors, destroying America, they were behind closed doors. I know, because I was one of the few back in 2009 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, that was trying to get people to wake up and to listen to me. And for the love of God, guys, I couldn't get anybody to listen to me. I was radical. I was called crazy back then, including by these wonderful relatives of mine. It wasn't until, and here's our transition, it wasn't until I moved to the oil field. Why did I move to the oil field? We were in a double, triple dip recession back in 2009, and I'm a workaholic, and I wanted a job. And the one thing that I knew that we weren't going to get away from is our dependence on oil. That statement to be true, but I had no idea just how much oil impacted our life and everything that we're afforded until I got out there. And Sandy, you know this very well, because you've still got oil field dirt in those boots of yours, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've got that crude oil still in my hair.
Well, and as they say, once oil's in your blood, you can't walk away from it. And I still feel that oil field is my home. But seriously, when people want to talk about this Green New Deal and this, walking away from carbon emissions and getting away from our dependency on oil, I mean, they're truly smoking something pretty fantastic, because you can't even, take Sandy, Al, I've said this before, I don't think you'll fit in an electric car because you're just really tall. Kristen, I think you can do it.
The Tesla S is pretty big.
What's the likelihood if you wrapped a solar panel around your ass, jumped in that electric car, how far would you get from Fargo, North Dakota to Williston, North Dakota in minus 50-degree temperature?
I don't know about that, but I don't think I'd even get in the car. I just
can't hear it running. I don't want nothing to do with it.
I spent enough time in Russia, and I know what 40 below zero is like, and I never want to see that again. So anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, electric cars need crude oil. I mean, people do not
Right.
understand that everything that you touch, breathe, everything you're afforded, you would literally, if you wanted to walk away from oil, you would literally have to go back to living with branches, bonfire, bear skin clothing. I just, so this Exxon pipeline deal that he's crushed, how big of an impact, Sandy? Because I'm already watching gas prices at the pump.
Well, you know, here's the thing about the pipeline that people don't realize. Okay, a lot of it, and I think a lot of this is how Joe Biden. He wasn't elected, but I think those who voted for him just didn't know, they weren't paying attention to what's going on in the world. But the thing about the pipeline, okay, they've been.
Oh shit.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Sandy.
Try
again.
That's all right, no problem. So anyway, so the pipeline has been sending oil from Canada through Nebraska, through different locations all along the way to South Texas, the Houston area, to refineries since 2014. What he's actually done is he has shut down the new portion of the new construction that's going on from Canada down to Nebraska. That was going to bring more of the tar shale oil in to the United States for refining and sending overseas. So the biggest shame about this, now the thing is, us in Texas, okay, this actually helps the people in the Permian Basin out, because now we're not competing with the Canadian oil the way that we thought we were going to do. So it's actually helped us down here. But where it has hurt us is I heard 11 million jobs that are directly and indirectly related to, not 11 million, I'm sorry, 11,000. I'm sorry about that. I was thinking of how many, there's actually 10 million jobs in America right now that are said to be directly related to the oil industry. And then that does not include the service jobs that are also indirectly associated. But anyway, so the problem is that, okay, you have 11,000 directly related jobs. Overnight, they're just gone because
they released a new number. They released a new number today, Sandy. It's they're saying it's between 60 and 90,000 jobs that'll actually be affected.
Wow, that's catastrophic. And thing is, and as we all know, that John Kerry came back and said, well, you guys need to learn how to make solar panels in an industry that's not even off the basement floor yet. Okay, so
I've got a better one. Did we all hear when Kamala said that she was going to redeploy coal and energy workers to work in the landmine?
I never listened to Kamala. I can't. I can't.
Yeah, you shouldn't pay me to listen to her.
I don't know. I don't actually. I didn't search for this one. I was driving around yesterday on my outside sales job, and all of a sudden they played this clip, and I just stopped and I thought, you know, they'll say everything and anything, even though it makes absolutely no sense. But here's the thing. Right. So you shut down the pipeline. I don't think he's come out against fracking yet, but no drilling on federal land. So you go from pipeline to rail and to semis, which just exposes the carbon footprint all that much more and raises the price of the transportation of oil. And then we're going to start importing oil. So everything increases in price. Everything, because of the cost of transportation and the cost of crude. Crude jumped $1.50 a barrel just yesterday.
And where does all that money go, Bella? Where does that money go? It goes to all the people that supported Biden's election.
Right.
So there it is.
You talk about it from a national security standpoint, okay? And that's really kind of where my expertise is more than as an economist. So I do, we ranch and I understand the economy and I understand finance and stuff. And one of my specialties was money laundering, so I got to learn a lot about banks and all. But let's really look at how this affects the world order, because we are right now, for the first time in my lifetime, the number one oil producer in the world at 18 million barrels per day. Saudi Arabia comes in at 12.5 million barrels per day. Russia comes in at 10.83. And then you get down to Canada as number 4. Our neighbors, we're hurting them as well. And then China is number 7 at 4.5 million barrels per day. And it's just like, I've always told people that they don't really understand why America is such a superpower. Is number one, for all these years, we controlled the world's banking, the flow of money. Now we control the flow of oil. And that's a bargaining chip right now, because the world's not going to convert over to solar, wind, whatever, because nothing else we have on this planet can produce right now the BTUs that we need to keep planes in the air, trains going down the tracks, and doing all the things we have to do to maintain this huge population we have. So when you start cutting oil production, then and from a country that, prior to this administration was a pretty sanely run outfit, now all of a sudden the world order starts getting flip-flopped upside down again, and before long you're going to have the Middle East and different countries calling the shots again. Am I off base here, guys? What do y'all think?
I think you're 100%. That's exactly, it's already happening. And they're jumping up and down in Iran and Venezuela and all these other places where we're going to end up buying our oil again.
Right. And so, and why? What is, and when we do this, okay, and then you look at this now, okay, the oil industry, not only did it, help our economy and get people working in the oil industry, now manufacturing has picked up because they can get petroleum, they can get energy at a much cheaper price. So now we're much more competitive on the world market with our products. And so when we start cutting back on our ability to produce oil in this country, we hurt everything that we're about. I mean, it's just, so the jobs that came in, guess what? As the price of gas and the price of oil and everything goes up, they're going to start going back to these other countries that they don't have these restrictions and these problems, and they're producing, oil at $10 less per barrel than we are in this country. Yep. and they don't have and they're not being limited as to how much they can produce.
And let me ask you this. What happens when we become too dependent on these foreign countries and they decide to take us out at the kneecaps?
Well, we just found that out with coronavirus.
What's that?
Yeah,
China already played that card.
No, but I'm saying we go back to being dependent on them with the pinhead in office, which, I'm not thinking that they're feeling too threatened by this administration, but if they really want to play hardball and just stop us at the kneecaps, they can limit the oil back to the U.S. if we become that too dependent on it.
Right. Well, here's the thing too, and you got to understand, you got to look at it from their perspective. Their goal, when I'm talking about the left, is to turn us into a socialist/communist party. Country. But the only way you're going to ever accomplish that is if you decrease our standard of living to the point that socialism looks like a good thing. Nobody's going to buy off on the deal. And so, I said that, I saw that when Barack Obama first came in office, just listening, and he made no bones about it. That's why he was always trying to do everything he could to drive our standard of living down. And that's what, and that's, you watch Joe Biden, he's doing the same thing. I don't think he's ever had an original thought in his head, but the people that his controllers that have him doing all these things, that's what they're thinking, because they think that there is such thing as a one world utopia, which there will never be. And but the only way to get America to play along, the United States, is to get our standard of living down where it looks like a good deal.
So Sandy,
but at this point, it's not.
Sandy, this is, when you talked earlier, not on this show, but when we were talking and prep for the show, and you had said, and I totally agree, this is an experiment of how much is our Americans willing to put up with, right?
Right.
How far left can we be dragged? How much are we going to tolerate? Now, here's the difference. And I want to say, hi, Paul Kelly. Miss you, buddy. I remember when the first time I met Paul Kelly up at his drilling rig, when I walked in his door, he looked at me and he said, "Did you ever shake your head and ask yourself, what did you do so wrong to wake up in Mickey Mouse Mountain?" I was out in Williston.
It's snowing for your ass.
But here's here's the thing, right? If this is the experiment of how far left can the American people be dragged left, how far are we willing to live under these communist, socialist standards? You know, we're already police state. We're already masked up, gloved up, sanitized up the wazoo. We can sanitize our own toilet when we pee. We got enough of it in our systems. But here's the thing, guys. We're coming off 4 years of Trump. We're not coming off 4 years of Obama. We're not coming off of 4 years of massive, you know, recession. And this is just another step. And you know, it's not like we sat and listened for 4 years. This is the new America. We get used to the 1% GDP. Those jobs aren't coming back. We had 4 years of American exceptionalism, America first, nationalism, a president that actually accomplished more than any other president ever for what he campaigned on, an incredible economy, which we do have. We've got a caller from 407 calling in. Welcome to the Bella D'Angelo Show.
Bella, this is Nathan in Orlando. I'm sitting here listening to what you guys are saying, and I don't know how you're going to take this, but I don't know if I'm going to rob you of hope or give you hope. But here's what we're up against. I don't think most people realize how much damage Obama did. I'll give you one quick example, but where we got our hope, I can't see with what Obama did and Biden building on that for the next 4 years, there's pretty much a good guess that America is over and can't be turned back. But the hope comes from people got a glimpse from Trump, what he did, but that's why they had to get him out of there. But let me give you just one example.
Real quick.
Okay, Obamacare got voted in 100-0 with the U.S. Senate, and that's when the Republicans in 2012 running on. We need a majority in the Senate to push Obamacare back to repeal it, but they got their 9-man lead, and they voted 100% moments after Ted Cruz's fake filibuster. Okay, so we are so far into this that Obamacare, it's in our soul. You can't run on it. And there was enough people with Trump that they said, yes, let's do it. But 4 more years could mess us up.
Thanks, Nathan, for calling in. I know you kind of a regular listener and you contribute every once in a while. Thanks. But I gotta say, I do still believe in the 74 million plus that voted for Donald J. Trump. And when you go,
I'm gonna say 80 million.
Hey,
I believe it's 80 million.
Hey, it could be even more. But here's the thing: I'm an internal optimist, and I had this conversation yesterday with a gal that I met on Friday. I went to La Vida Farquaz down in Lind, Minnesota. Got to listen to Richard Mack. He is the sheriff that went up against the federal government and sued them over the Brady Gun Act and won. And he's going to come on the show next Tuesday. So please tune in next Tuesday. He's got an incredible story. And after Sheriff Mack spoke, another gentleman got up and he wanted to remind us, America has been in trouble. Are we in trouble now? Yeah, we're in a lot of trouble. How many times did George Washington lose before he won? But he really wanted to remind us this is still God's country. If we believe this is a fight between good and evil, if we believe that this is a fight between the establishment and we the people, is this not possibly the also unfolding and unmasking of what the left truly is? Because they are not holding back. They are full front and center telling us of what destruction plans they have. And is this not, I mean, I would have to believe that if do you remember how excited we were when Trump won? Do you remember how hopeful? Do you remember how much American patriotism was all over the place? The flags, the banners, the support, the rallies. Al, I reminded you this. When Al and I were in Bemidji for Donald Trump's rally in October, was it September, October, right?
September, I think.
Okay. This is my first rally for Donald Trump. We were very honored and blessed. We got media tickets. I'm staring at them right now. One of them says the White House Media Pass. It was the most amazing experience. And when Al and I found where we were going to park and how we were going to get in, we went and we sat in this parking lot. And there was a Biden rally there. There was probably, 150,000 people, Al, at that rally for Biden?
At least, it was at least 100. They were saying 30, but it was at least 100,000.
There were 12 people at the Biden rally. And
he won the presidency, right?
Yeah, and he won the presidency.
Yeah.
They looked like the most inbred, transgender, rainbow waving, pot smoking, soy boy. I mean, I literally, Al, you and I should have taken a picture of it. But that
we should have. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And it was, no, I don't think it was any more than 15 people.
Right.
And they were standing out there with spitting their Biden signs. And, I hate to say it, guys, but I've been watching real carefully on what's been going on. And I hope somebody's got something up their sleeve, because these guys,
here's the thing, you guys. And I want to say, hey, Hot Rod, I wish I could run out with your grill of death. We'll share that story, the grill of death, and me and Hot Rod, when we share some oil field stories. But getting a lot of guys from the oil field tuning in tonight, because I give back to those that gave me so much. You gave me my start, guys, and I always give you the credit. But here's the thing. In the 5.5 years when I was in the oil field, do you know that if I would have taken it to heart when all those guys told me, literally every day, God bless you, sweetheart, but Hillary's getting in. I mean, did any of you think anything was stopping Hill the Beast? No, I know that answer. But I didn't stop. I didn't back down. I didn't shut up, and I didn't lose my voice. Because never, ever, ever give up. Winston Churchill. Up. Use this opportunity to point out who and what they really are. It's not a tough argument anymore. It really isn't. All you have to do is get up, go look, see what the pinhead and his pen did today. Just rattle off the executive orders. And you can have this easy dialogue, and it's going to show. It's going to show in the reduction in the economy. It's going to show in the job loss. It's going to show at the pump. It's going to show when we're starting to go grocery shopping. Everything is going to escalate. And where is the hope and excitement? Are they running to their TV to watch that sleepyhead pinhead stutter and mumble? And then I don't know, who's the 12-year-old White House press person that just keeps saying, I'll circle back. I'm going
to have to circle back with you on that one.
I got to go get my crayon, and I got to scrap Sam, I forgot my crayon. How come I didn't make a few notes today?
It's been pretty amazing. I got to tell you, I would love to be a fly on the wall at Kayleigh McEnany's house during a press briefing. I can only imagine.
What you guys are saying, I mean, and I know when we were talking before the show that you asked me, okay, how do we fight this? How do we change this? And I've had some time to give it a little more thought and look at it. Of course, the bottom line is I tell people the swamp is real. It's really there. And it's made up of people who've been in Washington 10 years plus, and there's a bunch of them there, and we've got to bust up the swamp. And then the only way there's only two ways to do that.
I have
number one, come up with and have term limits. You can't be in the House of Representatives more than 3 terms, 6 years. You can't be a senator for more than 2 terms, just like the president, 2 terms. And all you folks out there who keep back in office, and Mitch McConnell, all these people, stop doing it. Go vote in the primaries and get some new people in there who are not, they're not being held hostage by a special interest, and who will get out there and do what's right for the people. So
You
yeah.
just gave me the next.
And,
You just gave me the next segue because we had a conversation with Scott Pressler. Scott Pressler is a very well-known activist. He was down in Georgia during the Senate race doing door knocking. He is potentially coming for an event here in Minnesota. And what is Scott's message? Scott wants to meet, recruit, and encourage non-politicians to run at the state and local level, because that's where we've got to go change the election laws. And that's where we've got to make the biggest impact is state and local level. So we'll keep you updated as to that event. And Scott's also going to be a contributor. So Sandi, I want to thank you tonight. You've been a great guest, a lot of information. Hopefully you'll come on the show again and
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Tell
Call
people
me
where they
anytime.
can find you.
I'm retired and available. So hey, I appreciate it, guys. Y'all take care and God bless. Okay.
Hey, thank you, Sandi.
God bless.
You bet. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
I don't know that he wanted to tell me that on air. Did he really want me to know that he's retired and available after I was singing?
I think we were pretty much begging him as it was to become a regular contributor but he's a fascinating man, and what a life of service to our country. Just unbelievable.
Christian, what were you gonna say?
I don't think that's what he meant.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Maybe okay. Adjust my microphone.
Sure. I'm sure he's just trying to help. Hey, do you mind if I jump in here for a second?
Sure.
I just want to let everybody know, right now, we actually are streaming on Blog Talk, because that's where we are. We're also streaming on Facebook. We're also streaming on YouTube, just so you all know. If you want to get a hold of any of us on any of those mediums, feel free, send Bella a message, and she'll send you the link so you can become a follower, subscriber, whatever there. We also have a Patreon account.
Oh.
Anybody know what Patreon is?
That's a subscription service, isn't it?
That is a way that listeners can show support for the show. That is one of the ways that you can show Bella and the ideas we talk about here that you think they're important. Now, I'm still working on it. I don't have it done. There's only 2 tiers on there right now, and one small and one is kind of big. But it's a start. It gives you kind of a framework for what I'm going to eventually have done there. So Patreon, and just search Bella the Patriot. I try to keep it simple. Bella the Patriot.
Perfect.
And we'll see what you think. You can send Bella a message and tell her what you think of the whole deal, and we'll go from there.
Awesome.
Dang, I thought it was one of those naughty subscriptions. You got me all excited. But then again, you know, then I get my big debut, and you let me go on and on and on about Peter Frampton, the beach. It's okay.
Well, sometimes it's good just to get it out. Now we all know, and we all can move forward from here.
I'm gonna go back to wearing my safety, my hard hat, steel toe boots, and safety glasses, and then I'm gonna put the short bus sticker back on my helmet like I used to wear. But we gotta wrap out tonight. Tonight's been great. I've been getting a lot of feedback. Rick Fox, who is a listener here in the Twin Cities. Paul Kelly wants to chime in. He did not win the election. He was appointed by the rest of the world because they could not control Trump. Amen. And again, thanks for all the great shout out from the oil field. You guys gave me my start. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Christian. Let's all have a great night, and we got to get out. We got to fight, baby, fight. Good night. God bless. God bless America. And everybody put on some big balls to go fight.